Hey everyone, I'm Nick Clark. I'm a research engineer at Gumshoe and also a PhD student at the University of Washington. I'm joined today by Gwen Sawicki, who is working with us as a research assistant this summer. Gwen, do you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working as a research assistant at Gumshoe this summer, but I am a computer science student at Hamilton College, where I also do research in human-computer interaction.
Awesome. Gwen just completed a pretty cool project comparing what signals GEO uses and how those differ from SEO. Could you unpack that a little bit? What was the motivation for this work?
As AI rises and more people are using AI kind of starts to become a more familiar, more personalized alternative to traditional search engines. So out of this, you have companies and brands wanting to then optimize for their presence within these AI models in something called GEO. Then out of this, you kind of get a question of, okay, if I'm doing really well in traditional search engines, can I expect to do really well in AI? Will I be recommended very broadly in AI if I'm recommended really broadly in traditional SEO? So that kind of brings you to this question of, is there a relationship between performance in the two? Does one depend on the other? You might expect to see that GEO depends on a certain level of SEO. So that was the motivation for the research that we did.
So, what would you say is the TLDR or the headline finding of this work?
Yeah, so I think the biggest takeaway from this was that our analysis really revealed that there is not a strong relationship between doing well in SEO and performing well in GEO. Brands that performed well in SEO were not necessarily performing badly in GEO, or brands that performed well in GEO weren't necessarily performing badly in SEO. But there really was quite a random distribution across brands, across GEO scores and SEO scores.
So, you mentioned SEO and GEO scores.
Yeah,
Could you explain how those are defined and what the methodology was?
yeah, absolutely. So the SEO scores are an aggregate of SERP performance. So basically, if a brand does really well and is in the first page of search engine results, they're going to get a higher score than something that's in the bucket of the 10 through 12 results page position. On the other hand, GEO scores were calculated using Gumshoe citations, where you're rewarded for showing up more in organic results, which we kind of defined as showing up in a broad range of AI prompts and inquiries that were not just mentioning your brand directly or mentioning a direct competitor.
I see. So, if my domain appears on the first page of Google results, that'll increase my SEO score. And if it's cited by ChatGPT, that'll increase my GEO score. And we would
Yes.
anticipate these are related. Okay, cool. Just
Yes.
confirming my understanding. So now that we have those two scores, what did you do next?
So now that we have these two scores, we're going to be plotting them against each other. So we're going to be comparing directly the SEO score to the GEO score. And when we did this, we found that there was a really, really low correlation between SEO and GEO. The R squared was less than 0.01, which is quite low. That means that basically the trend is super random and points are all over the place. Which is surprising. You maybe wouldn't expect to see that when a lot of the discourse has said that you need to be really optimizing for SEO, or even if you focus on SEO, you can kind of just expect to see really good GEO performance. But what we're seeing is that once you're in this top band of domains that are performing well in our citations, so this data is coming from the top 1,000 domains in terms of citation performance from internal Gumshoe data. So once you're at this level of, you're showing up in citations, at least, like all the brands that are and domains that are showing up here are showing up in citations. It's not that they're not being found. It's that once you're being found, even if you have really good SEO performance, you still could probably be doing better in GEO if you're not focusing on it. You don't necessarily know that you're doing well in GEO just because you're doing well in SEO. So there's potential to have some additional winnings there.
Sounds like brands would benefit from using Gumshoe to identify their GEO performance.
You would think so, yes.
Are there any domains that stand out
Yeah.
that perform particularly well, say in like SEO, but aren't doing well in GEO?
So some of the examples that I focused on were, the first one was Pinterest. Pinterest was interesting because it is in part an organic content website, and they do very well in SEO. Social networks in general were doing pretty well because the ones that kind of have risen to the level of the top where they're going to show up in our data are pretty strong performers to begin with. So Pinterest's SEO score was an 87.6. And the GEO score was a 41.5. And based on the category of social network, you would expect to see for a brand or a domain that has an SEO score of 87.6, a GEO score of 75.1. So these sound like just kind of random numbers, but you're seeing quite a disparity between Pinterest and other social networks. For instance, YouTube does really, really well. YouTube was the highest SEO performer with a score of 100. But YouTube also does really well in GEO, better than you even might expect just based on its SEO performance. So YouTube's GEO score was 96.1 with a predicted score based on its category of forum or community of 80.1. So it did really, really well.
Wow. Okay. I can already imagine some plausible explanations for why that's the case. If I'm a model, I can imagine YouTube being a more reputable source than Pinterest, not to disparage them. So you mentioned a few social media platforms there, but I'm curious if you have any insights around brand or product pages, since I imagine that will be relevant to most of our listeners.
Absolutely. So you wouldn't maybe expect. So again, you're really seeing that, assuming that doing well in SEO, if you're an e-commerce brand, is not necessarily going to ensure that you're doing well in GEO.
What advice would you have for practitioners or marketing agencies who are trying to optimize for visibility in AI search?
I think there definitely are some implications for them. I think that the data that we have here really contributes to the argument that you need to be approaching GEO individually from looking to perform well in traditional SEO. And I think that maybe a reason for that is that AI models operate very differently from a traditional search engine. A traditional search engine is looking for things that are popular, things that people are going to click through on a lot. And an AI model is looking to recommend the right thing. And it's going to be doing this through using distinct content signals, which might be authoritative things. It might be looking for data. It might be looking for long form content or content that comes from people, honest reviews, truthful reviews. It's looking to give you the right thing, not just like the most popular thing.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you walking us through that.
Yeah, thank you.